Hello everyone, welcome back to Learners. I'm your host, AI, and today we'll be talking about the foundations of building a web page. We'll be looking at quite a number of websites. I'm very sure that we have interacted with one website or the other before. And as much as we'll be building, what you'll be seeing at the front end of the website, we need to understand few things, if not everything, at least some basic things that goes on uh behind the scene. That's one. Two, I also limit it that we should know how we even start or why some things are the way they are. I think when we know the reason why some things are the way they are, would understand better. Yeah, some don't. Some of us might not be bothered, but for those of us that really want to understand why is this like this, why is that like that, I think it would be okay to talk about the boilerplate because that's what we'll be talking about today. But I needed to show us these different websites to see that as much as we have quite a number of resources that we are looking at from the front end side of things, there are things that hold them together behind the scenes. So let's go over to Visual Studio now, right? And just check out the very first things that we need to do when we want to start out, right? So these are just examples of different websites that one can play around with to get better at what we are doing. So you come to Visual Studio, and when you come to Visual Studio, one of the things you really want to establish and do properly is to create a folder where all your files will be stored because you do not want to have your files, your website files littered across your computer. So for me, I have created a folder before, but I'll show you how to get that done. So what you need to do is come to your file menu here and then click on open folder. Now, when you do that, depending on where you want to create your folder, you are free to create your folder there. Mine would be inside, mine would be on the desktop, but inside a particular folder. And I have already created mine, like I said earlier, journey documentation. But if you want to start afresh and create yours anew, just right click and then go to new, create folder, like folder, and you name your folder. Once your folder has been created, click on it and select folder and you are good. Now, how do you know if your folder has been selected? You would see it here. This aspect of your Explorer bar, you would see the name of your folder there. Then also at the top of your design, your development environment here, you would see welcome journey documentation. Now this is the name of my folder, the folder I created, and this is the software I'm working with. That's the first thing. Now the second thing you want to do is to create a file. The first file would be creating, there are several files you can create, but the very first one we'll be creating will be the home page. And for that home page, I'm going to tap on the or click on the new file icon here and name it index.html. Now, before I click on enter or hit enter on the keyboard, I want to show you something. So I'm just going to delete this extension. Now, pay attention to the icon here. It's looking like a format icon, the regular format icon in Microsoft Word. But immediately I change I give it an extension, it changes to this angle brackets, right? So actually that's where we got our name from, Angularness, right? So hit enter and you are good to go. Now, Visual Studio Code would give you an option to select different languages that you want to work with, right? But because we have already created an extension here, it's clear that we want to write an HTML document. So the next thing to do would be to create a boilerplate, which is the reason for this video. So what is a boilerplate? Boilerplate is simply that part of your code that gives structure to your entire web page. And to create your boilerplate, hit shift on your keyboard and 1. Now this exclamation mark will appear, and all you have to do is click on hit the tab key on your keyboard, and your boilerplate will be created. Now this is the boilerplate from the top here downwards to the closing tag for HTML. So let's explain what each of these line of or these tags represent. DOCTYPE HTML simply means that the type of document you want to write is an HTML document. In simple terms, there are other documents or there are other languages that you can write. You could write in you will have the CSS, you have JavaScript, you have TypeScript, you have React. But this document is basically hypertext markup language. Hypertext markup language simply means you are writing in tags. You are writing in tags. We'll be seeing that in the next video, because we'll be going into how to start building in the next video, right? So you are writing an HTML document. So that's why we have DOCTYPE HTML. Now, this HTML, what language are we writing in? English. That's why we have HTML language. For the short form of language is in English. Now this says helps define the language of an element. The language that non-editable elements are in, or the language that editable elements should be written in by the user. The attribute contains one language tag made of hyphen separated. Blah, 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 blah. You understand now? So currently we will be writing in English. So that's why we have English here, EN, for the short form of English. If you were to be writing another language, maybe in Arabic or in French, there is a short form for that to denote that this is the particular language you are writing in. Now, having done that and explained what the HTML lang en means, the next thing is to go into explaining what the head tag contains. For the meta chart set tag, what this is telling us is because there are different standards of character set and encoding, the standard recommended to build with is the UTF-8 encoding format. So that is why we have this. So everything we want to write, characters and numbers and even special signs or emojis, all fall under this standard character encoding. Now the meta tag enables our pages to be seen or viewed on across different screens, either a phone or a tablet or a computer. That is what this is all about. Then the title tag carries the name we want to give to our project or our page. So for this, we can call this home. You understand? We can call this home. Then the body, this is where all the designs we were seeing on the website I showed us earlier, this is where all those information will be written, the pictures, the text, this is where they'll be written. And with this, I hope that you've been able to have an understanding of what a boilerplate is, why it is there, and why you should. So basically, the boilerplate gives structure to your website. That is what enables a browser to know that this is the kind of website that you are loading or you are running. So in summary, the boilerplate is the part of your web page that gives structure to your entire website page. It is also what enables a browser to know the type of page you want to run or load within the browser. And with this, we have come to the end of what the boilerplate means, what each of the tags in it means, and why it is essential to our website. So in the next video, we'll start looking at how to start building the website.